From the News Channel 5 Network, this is SportsLine.
Hey there, SportsLine on your television. Steve Lehman here with you. Glad you are here with us on this Tuesday night on News Channel 5. Plus, we can continue to count down to training camp. The Titans report on Friday at St. Thomas Sports Park. Then they will be on the field for the first time Saturday afternoon, 2:40 on the practice fields behind the training complex there. And that will be open to the public if you want to get out there. And what I want to ask you tonight is, as a fan, have you gone to training camp before? They've been open for many, many years, and for the last, 10 years or so, they have been at the team facility there. Have you gone to Titans training camp for one of these open practices? What was the experience like? Did you enjoy it? Would you recommend it? I want to know your take on that. I also want to know what you're looking forward to about this season. What's your biggest question mark? What's your biggest hope for this year? And if you want to give me a record prediction, throw that out there as well. I think the Titans are going to be considerably better this year. The question will be, just what does that mean, of course? You're talking about a team that's won just 5 games over the past 2 seasons. This has been a brutal division. The AFC South has been brutal the last couple of years, and the Titans still weren't any good in it. Now this offseason, there's a lot of intrigue because probably more so than any other division in football, the AFC South has significantly upgraded throughout. The Colts are going to upgrade just by the fact that Andrew Luck is back healthy and theoretically going to be under center for them pretty much every game this year. The Texans believe they've got a quarterback now in Brock Osweiler. That remains to be seen, perhaps. But they've added a bunch of pieces offensively to go along with what was already a really stout defense on a team that won the division last year with Luck out in Indianapolis. Jacksonville continues to build. They added a bunch of pieces to give Gus Bradley, who's a defensive-minded coach, finally the opportunity to kind of build what he wants on the defensive side of the ball. They've got Blake Bortles. They love him. They spent last year getting a bunch of pieces for him, running game, passing game, building up that offensive line. So the Jaguars seemingly should be much better. And, of course, here in Tennessee, Marcus Mariota enters year 2. You have a new head coach, at least permanent head coach, in Mike Mularkey. You load up in the backfield, the trade for DeMarco Murray, get Derrick Henry in there. They've retooled that offensive line, which had to happen after the season they had last year. And you had a couple more pieces on the defensive side of the ball. There's a lot of reasons for optimism, but that's exactly what they're saying in Jacksonville and Houston and Indianapolis as well. This was a division that was terrible last year. The Texans were not a very good team, but yet they won the division because the division wasn't any good. Now this year, I think everybody takes a step forward. But if you're the team like the Titans, the team that last year tied for the worst record in all of football, not just within this division, what does that mean? You can take several steps forward, but what does it mean in a record sense? You could be a lot better and get to 5 wins or maybe 6 wins. You have to become much, much, much better to start talking about the division title or knocking on the door of a playoff berth. Can the Titans take that big of a step? Remember, it was just a couple years ago that Carolina was a very average team in a below-average division in the NFC South. And then last year they were 15-1. Got all the way to the Super Bowl. I think that's a stretch for this Titans team this year. But we've seen it before, where with the right changes and the right quarterback, and the Titans believe they've got the right quarterback in Marcus Mariota, that you can go from a team that's in the cellar and out of it by Thanksgiving to a team that can be playing in February, or a team that certainly can be playing in January as part of the playoffs. That's the challenge for the Titans, to see how quickly they can make that turnaround, because it's been a long time coming. 2008 is the last time the Titans were in the postseason. And I know if you are a Titans fan, that seems like a long long time ago. So what do you think has to change this year for the Titans, not just to be better, but to be really good and compete within the division or for a playoff spot? 737-7767 is the number tonight. We would love to hear from you guys on this. I want to get the football chatter back going on this program as we head into training camp, through the preseason and into the regular season, because we love to hear from you guys. We want to get the pulse of the fan, what you guys are thinking, what you guys are seeing, those sort of things. We love to get that here on the program. Also today, a true sign that we are getting around to football season, some special deliveries today of season tickets to some randomly selected season ticket holders. A handful of Titans players went around and surprised those season ticket holders today and actually hand-delivered those season tickets. So that's got to be a thrill for the fans, but also a bunch of the Titans who went today were new guys. Kevin Byard, a draft pick. Rashad Johnson, Rashard Matthews, guys who were free agent signs. Ben Jones, another free agent signing. Guys like that who haven't been here, haven't really interacted with the fans yet, haven't seen that before. I think they had a lot of fun from what I saw out there today, interacting with the fans, the people who have stuck with them and are going to cheer for them when the season kicks off here in a few weeks. And it was also interesting because the guys who've been around in the league for a while, whether that be Jones or Matthews or Johnson, you get the sense that it's a little bit different here. And maybe that shouldn't be surprising in the fact that this team has struggled. It's a relatively, in comparison to the rest of the NFL, young franchise in terms of where it is here in Tennessee. You don't have the lifelong or generational fans like you have in Chicago or Green Bay or New York or some of the places with a lot of history, Pittsburgh, let's say. You just don't have that here. But they've done a good job of trying to reach out to the community and be a part of Nashville and the mid-state. And I think these players who've been in other places came in here and were a little bit surprised by that and thought it was cool that they got the opportunity to go out and interact with the fans. So don't take that for granted if you're around here in Nashville. The Titans oftentimes put together some pretty cool events. And look, the season ticket holder, that was for a select group of people today. But still, it's the gesture. Back in minicamp, they had a couple days where they had select group of season ticket holders that they invited in to watch the off-season workouts and watch minicamp. I don't know any team in the NFL that does that. The Titans have never done that in the past. But that's just another way they're trying to bridge the gap and really make fans fall in love with this team all over again, fall in love with the stars that they want to do well on Sundays. Does that work all the time? I don't know. But it is an effort that they are putting in there. And now the big thing is they've got to go out and win on Sundays. Fans are going to show up. They're going to give them a chance, at least at the beginning. But at some point, they've got to win. They've got to prove their worth to these fans to get that opportunity. 737-7767 is the number tonight. Let's go to David. David, good evening. You're first up here tonight.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well.
Okay, you were talking about the training facility. Yes, I've been out there, and I love it. It's like walking on carpet around the field out there. But this team, I think that they're going to the playoffs, and on paper, this is the team that I've never seen a team on paper that stacks up well, and I think on paper they can put it on the field with the players that they have. And yeah, we're coming out of the cellar, and yeah, I think they can do it. And Jacksonville, they right there, but they're not quite there yet. And Indianapolis is dropping, and Houston is. We'll see what they do elsewhere. But I think the Titans have a real good chance to get to the playoffs this year.
All right, David, I appreciate those comments, and certainly that's an optimistic view of it. I tend to agree with a lot of your statements there. One, I'm curious to see Indianapolis. I love Andrew Luck. He's probably the best young quarterback if we're talking 10 years, a 10-year window. He's probably the best guy or the guy you would bank on the most in the NFL. But I don't like the offensive line. They don't have a running game. I'm not sure that defense is great. So can he continue to do it pretty much all by himself now that this division is starting to get better around them? I think that's a real question. Jacksonville, I really like what they've done, but if you're asking me, pick, again, young quarterback, who would you rather have, Blake Bortles or Marcus Mariota? I'm going Mariota every day of the week. And now I think they've surrounded him, at least in the backfield, with a much better running game than what you're going to see in Jacksonville. So if that offensive line can hold up and they can run the ball a little bit, now I think you take a lot of the pressure off of Mariota and he can really begin to show you what he's capable of doing. There's still some question marks at the wide receiver position. I know that they've got to step up as a group. But I like Marcus Mariota a lot, and I'm starting to like what the Titans are doing around him. So we'll see. We'll see how quickly they can climb the ladder, but I do think there is the potential there, at least, if this team meshes and that line steps up and you get some wide receivers to make a couple plays. I think there's the potential that this team could make a pretty big leap this year in terms of the win-loss total, which would be very exciting for a lot of people around here. Let's go to Mike. Mike, good evening. You're next up on SportsLine.
Hey, my friend. Hey, I just really want to commend you wearing that big orange tie for Tennessee, my friend. And my other comment is, I'd like to know, you think there could ever be a way that we could have the Super Bowl be played at the new Nissan Stadium with all the new hard work that's been put in at the stadium, and or maybe have an NFL playoff game here? And I'll hang up. Thanks for your time.
I appreciate that, Mike. Obviously, if the Titans get to the playoffs, there will be an NFL playoff game here if they've earned the right as a division champion or have the better record later on in the playoffs. That would just happen. It doesn't matter what the stadium looks like. In terms of the Super Bowl, it's not happening in this current stadium. It could happen down the road if they do massive renovations to this stadium or they build a new stadium in 5 or 10 years' time, whatever it would be. And if you listen to this program for long enough, you've heard me kind of start to trumpet that conversation. And we can certainly revisit that again. Nissan Stadium's fine for right now. It is a fine NFL stadium. We don't need to do anything drastic this year or next year. But at some point, it's going to reach its lifetime cycle. That's just how these things work, especially the stadiums built around the time it did. It is not full of luxury necessarily. It's a fine stadium, but it is not Cowboys Stadium. It is not Gillette Stadium or Ford Field or the new stadium opening in Minnesota or the one being built in Los Angeles for the Rams. It doesn't compare to those places. As a matter of fact, if you look around the league now, I would put the Titans and Nissan Stadium in the bottom third of the league in terms of their home stadiums. So at some point, there's going to have to be a conversation of what you do there. And I think it's wise as a city, leaders, sports commission, etc., to start the dialogue about what's next. Because here's what I think. Nashville's done a great job of making itself what? Its city in the country. It is the place to travel to. It is the place to go to, have a fun weekend at, come to festivals and concerts and all those sort of things. It's become a very fun place to go and watch sporting events, too. This year we had the NHL All-Star Game, and that weekend was phenomenal. And if you talk to people from around the world who came in, NHL media members, fans, etc., they loved that weekend here. It was fantastic. And they had a great time because of the restaurants and the bars and the activities downtown, the arena, which is a very nice arena, and just the whole setup of the music and those sort of things. Nashville could put on a great Super Bowl, especially once a few more hotels come online and we get closer to the urban core. Nashville will have the infrastructure to put on a great week from a media perspective, from a fan perspective, from a corporate perspective, from a player perspective. All of those things Nashville could do, except for the fact that the stadium isn't that great and it's outside in February. You're at the mercy of Mother Nature. It could be nice here in the first weekend of February, or we could get snow in the first weekend of February, and that would be a downer for the Super Bowl. So in order to get it to me, you've got to build a retractable roof stadium where you can take the unknown of the elements out of the equation. And if Nashville does that, it'll get a Super Bowl. 5 years down the line or whatever after they build it, the Super Bowl will come to Nashville. That's all that you have to know about it. If you build it, they will come. That is the track record of the NFL. But not just the Super Bowl. You start talking about college football national championship game, trying to wrestle the SEC championship game out of Atlanta, Final Fours in basketball, all sorts of events. Not to mention the second largest tenant, and I always want to make this point, second largest tenant at Nissan Stadium right now is CMA Fest. 4 nights in a row in June when the temperatures are scorching hot, and we've seen the last couple of years. I think this year they were fine, but I know 2 years ago they had some issues, and 3 years ago they had some issues where you run into weather issues, severe weather. People can't come into the stadium because it's outside. You have nowhere to put them if it starts to rain during the show. Well, if you have a retractable roof stadium, you take that out of the equation. They should want that as well. It'll cost money, and the politics will have to go on in terms of who pays for it. City, community, tax dollars, CMA Fest get involved. How much do the Titans pay? I think they should have to pay a lot of it for sure. But that is a discussion that needs to start happening because we've made ourselves the big event city. But the big events that we can't get right now are the biggest events. The Super Bowl, the Final Four, the college football national championship game, things like that. More stadium concerts that have become such a hit when they do them, as infrequently as that is. You can answer all of those questions if you build that stadium. So in my mind, that dialogue has to start sooner rather than later. Got off on a little bit of a tangent there. You can chime in on that discussion if you want, or we can get back and talk about the Titans coming up here shortly. 737-7767 is the number. We will be back with more of your phone calls right after this.